It was coordinated in the morning on July 23rd, 1967, when the Jackson family's Volkswagen minibus eased into a parking space of a cluster of small white bungalows at 2648 West Grand Boulevard, Detroit. The sign above one of the structures said it all, Hitsville, USA. This was Motown Records, the place from which had sprung forth so many memorable chart-topping hit records. By 1968, Berry Gordy Jr. had made an indelible impression on the entertainment world with this company. Gordy was a maverick in the record business in every way, a visionary who had plucked young hopefuls from urban street corners to then transformed them to international superstars with names such as the Supremes, the Temptations, the Miracles, the Vandellas, and the Marvelettes. His success with concert groups and solo artists like Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, and Tammy Terrell was largely the result of his brilliance at surrounding us with the most talented writers, producers, and arrangers Detroit had to operate. Smokey Robinson, Brian Holland, Lyman Dozier, and Eddie Holland, Winefield, and Barrett Strong, who named just a few. Using the notion of teamwork as their foundation, they and the artists formulated an original, contagious style of music that sold millions of records. It was called the Motown sound. A muscular rhythm section, engaging hook lines, choruses, and witty lyrics are all standard elements of songs like "Red or Love Girl" and "I Can't Help Myself." Dancing in the streets, "Please, Mr. Postman," "Love," "The Track of My Tears," and seemingly countless became not only anthems of an entire generation, but also emblems of the period in American history in which they were recorded. Barry was a tough taskmaster who encouraged intense competition among his groups, writers, and producers. The biggest criticism leveled at Gordy by others at first and then later by the artists themselves had to do with the complete control he exercised over his dominion. Practically none of the artists had a clue as to how much money they generated for the company. They were usually discouraged from asking questions about it. They sang and performed as all was expected of them. I never saw a tax return until 1969. Dana Ross, who sang with Gordy in 1960, once said, "Barry was such a mentor and strong personality. If you find yourself relying on that, you did grow." Joseph had heard some rumors about Motown, nonsense about it being linked to the mob, for instance, and had also heard that some artists had trouble being paid for their work. However, now that was on his mind when he took the boys there that day in 1968. Oh, there are Joseph and Jack Richardson, family friend who traveled with them and acted as a road manager, were in the front seat of the van as the trash. Front seat of the van as they drove up to Hitsville. Crammed in the back were the Jackson boys with a plethora of instruments, amplifiers, and microphones. "Get out and in line for inspection," Joseph ordered. The youngsters clambered out into the already warm Detroit street, where, as a troop, they lined up according to age: 17-year-old Jackie, 14-year-old Joe, 13-year-old Jermaine, 10-year-old Marlon, and 9-year-old Michael. 17-year-old Johnny Jackson joined the group. Believe it or not, related, Joseph treating him just like he treated his own sons. And Johnny obeyed just as quickly. All right, Joseph Bro, it's 10 o'clock. Let's go. Remember, everything I taught you, except when you're saying or being spoken to, keep your mouth shut. And remember what I always say. He looked at Jermaine. Either you're a winner in this life or a loser. Jermaine said, I know none of my kids were losers. That Joseph said, patting on the back. And inside the main building, the first person to greet the gang was a sharply dressed black man. When he asked how he could assist him, Joseph explained that they were Jackson family from Gary and that they had an appointment for audition. The man said that he'd be expecting them. Must be Michael, he said, looking at the smallest, then pointing to the boys in turn. He correctly called each one by his name. I knew, sir, you must be Joseph, he announced as a family patriarch shook hands. The boys were amazed. The family was then led into a small studio. As they walked in, they noticed a person setting up a film camera on a tripod. There were 10 chairs in front of the small elevated wooden platform that would serve as a stage. Susan Paz, creative assistant to President Barry Gordy, and Gia wearing a blue miniskirt and yellow blouse with ruffles. Her high heels clicked as she approached the group to introduce herself. She was an attractive young black woman with shoulder-length hair with a bright, friendly smile. The boys liked her immediately. Ralph Setzler was the next to appear, a tall white man wearing a dark steel and conservative tie. Setzler seemed more intimidating than Paz. He shook the hand of each boy and Joseph's and Jack's. We've heard a lot about your group, he said to Joseph. Mr. Gordy couldn't be here, but you mean Mr. Gordy is not here? Joseph asked, unable to hide his disappointment. When Seltzer explained that Gordy was in Los Angeles, Joseph said that they should reschedule the audition when he was back in Detroit. He wanted his sons to audition for the boss, not flunkies. However, Seltzer explained that they intended to film the audition and then have it sent to Gordy in West Coast. Mr. Gordy rendered a decision at that time. He said he had rendered a decision to give more to himself than to Seltzer. Yes, he will, Seltzer said. Mr. Gordy will render a decision at the time. Mr. Gordy's going to render a decision, Michael repeated to Marlon. What's that mean? Marlon whispered. Michael shrugged his shoulders. After all, the boys' criminals looked in from the van and set up 8 staffers who did not introduce themselves, filed into the studio, each with a notepad. Michael was all ready to speak into the microphone when he heard somewhere in the corner snicker and say, yeah, the Jackson Jive. The Jackson Jive is an old slang expression. It sounded like an insult. Ralph Setzler cleared the person who made the remark. First thing I want to do is just I got the feeling. Michael announced, okay, here we go. He came up 1 or 2 or 3, and then Tio on guitar, Jimmy on bass, and Johnny Jackson and drums play. Baby, 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 Michael sang. He grimace and to imitate James Brown. I got the feeling now, good God Almighty. He skated sideways across the floor like bro. I feel good. He ran into his microphone. A wicked expression laying on his little face. Susan paused and Rustler smiled at each other and nodded their heads. The other notes just kept time to the music Joseph, standing in the corner with his arms folded across his chest, looked on approvingly. After the boys finished, no hands of play. Instead, everyone feverishly wrote in their notepads, confused. The youngsters stared at each other and then at their father for a hint as to what they should do. Joseph mentioned with, "Brother, stop his hand. No one's freaking watching your stream." I know. So why do you live stream anyway? Because I like to do it. Sorry about this, but you gotta go do some work. Okay? Right now. So let's go do some stuff. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. Joseph mentioned with his hand that they should continue with the next number. Thank you very much, Michael said, as though a vision. We appreciate it. Michael then introduced the group as in their live show, after which they sang the bluesy Tobacco Road. Again, no applause, just note taking. Next song I want to do is a Motown song, Michael announced. I was waiting for smiles of acknowledgement that never materialized. It's Michael Robinson's you, okay? Here we go. A one, a two, a three. The close song with the big finish and waiting for reaction from the Motown staffers. Again, everyone is right. Jackson Jive, huh? Room said. Those boys ain't jiving. I think they're great. Michael beat his eyes dancing. Ralph Sessler cleared his throat and stood up. "I want to thank you boys for coming," his voice gave no answer how fast the audition had gone. He shook each of their hands before walking over to Joseph, explaining to him that the company would put them all at a nearby hotel. "I'll be in touch with you," says Sir, including 2 days. Mr. Bird renders a decision, Joseph said, finishing Sutler's sentence. He didn't sound happy. The boys were also clearly disappointed as they filed out. No one said a word. 3 days later, Barry Gordy saw the 16mm black and white film. He made a quick decision. "Yes, absolutely. Sign these kids up," he says, Ralph Sessler. "They're amazing. Don't waste a second. Sign them up." On July 26, 1998, Ralph Sessler summoned Joseph into his Motown office for a meeting. During the 2-hour conference, while the boys waited in the lobby, he explained that Barry Gordy was interested in singing the Jackson 5 to the label, and then outlined the kind of relationship he hoped the company would develop with the Jackson youngsters. He spoke of the genius of Barry Gordy and Gordy's hopes that the Jackson 5 would become major recording stars. "These kids are going to be big, big, big." Ralph says his manner starts more cordial than have been in their visit. "Believe me, if Mr. Gordy says they're going to be big, they're going to be big." Joseph must have felt like he was dreaming. Dan Sasser presented Joseph with Motown's standard 9-page contract. It never occurred to Joseph that he should probably have shown up with independent legal counsel for such an important discussion, and Sasser had suggested it. Barry did not want outside lawyers looking over other contracts. Ralph Sessler would explain an interview long after he and Gordy parted ways. Quite simply, he did not want outsiders influencing the artists. I thought it was more than fair for an artist to be able to take the contract home and read it. Think it over. Barry told me that if I ever allowed an artist to get the contract home, that artist would not sign the contract. I tried once, and the artist did not sign. It was best. Barry decided that potential contractees read over the agreement in my office and then just sign. If they have problems with that, they do not become Motown artists. It was that simple. Sessler began with clause number 1, which said that the agreement was for a term of 7 years. "Hold it right there," Joseph interrupted. That's too long. Joseph felt that they should be committed for only 1 year. That brief length of time was unheard of at Motown, where the minimum arrangement was 5 years. Gordy felt it took that long to fully develop an artist, then see a return on the company's investment. Ralph Sisler picked up the phone and called Berry Gordy in Los Angeles. He explained the problem and handed the phone to Joseph, whom Berry had never met. After a brief conversation, Joseph hung up. He said he was going to think about it. Joseph told Sisler, smiling knowingly. 2 minutes later, the phone rang again. It was Gordy wanting to talk to Joseph. He explained to Joseph that, as far as he was concerned, the real issue was a matter of trust. If Joseph really believed in Gordy and Motown, he wouldn't mind having his children obligated to the company for 7 years. After all, Gordy was willing to pay for accommodation, recording sessions, and rehearsal time, and so forth. However, if Joseph insisted on changing the cause, then it would be changed. Because, after all, I just want what's best for the kids, Gordy explained. Joseph smiled and gave Richardson a thumbs up signal. He handed the phone to Sisler, who got back on the line and spoke to Berry for a moment. Then Sisler put Gordy on hold and summoned an assistant into his office or took some dictation from Gordy. About 5 minutes later, the assistant returned with a clause which stated that the group was obligated to Motown for only 1 year. Joseph beamed. He had won a strategic battle against Berry Gordy. Sisler quickly explained the rest of the contract. Joseph nodded his head, then called his boys into the office. "We got it, boys," he announced. "Oh man, that's too much. We're in Motown. They got us a contract." The other began jumping up and down, hugging one another. Ralph Sisler gave away a contract. "Just sign right here and that line, fellas." They looked at their father. "Go, okay, sign." So Joseph did not even read the contract. He just had it explained to him. Neither had any of his sons. Each boy signed. "There's an agreement for you, Mr. Jackson," Ralph Sisler said, handing Joseph a paper. "This is a parental approval agreement, and it says, quite simply, that you will make certain that the boys comply with the terms of the contract they just signed." Joseph signed the agreement. "Well, congratulations." Ralph Sisler stood with a smile and a firm handshake for Joseph. "And let me be the first to welcome you to Motown."